All right. Am I starting this early? Man, I don't even care. I don't even care. I had to get on Broncos country to talk about, man, what's going on. Getting absolutely destroyed today. So if y'all want to crash out, if y'all want to have some fun with me, we're gonna overreact. We're gonna have some fun theorizing where do our Denver Broncos go from here. Join the chat, smash that like, subscribe. I mean, y'all know how it is, but Juwan Johnson, I did not see this happening. Returning to the Saints on a 3-year deal, I think worth up to $34 million. So gets kind of what we were expecting. Man, what? How did the Saints get all this cap space? How did they do it? How did they do it? I mean, they get Justin Reed. They bring back Tyrann Mathieu. Crazy. But Juwan Johnson goes back to the Saints. And it's also very interesting, guys. I have not seen any of the beat reporters on Twitter or anything like that go on and say, hey, we made an offer to Juwan Johnson, or they had inquiries about it. You know, normally that kind of happens with some of our free agent targets. I mean, the Broncos kind of alluded to that when they had some reporters go on record and talk about how the Broncos were like really in on Aaron Jones, but um, you know, he signed with the Vikings. Like they wanted it out there that he was going to be the number one plan at running back, and I think they're trying to figure out exactly where do we go from here, right? Maybe Miles Sanders, maybe it's Rico Dowdle. I think that would be cool. Another guy that we thought about was possibly Ty Johnson. You know, he absolutely burned us for that incredible touchdown in the playoffs in the wild card round, you know, against the Bills. And he's been a tremendous third down back, one of the best receiving backs in the NFL, but he's back with Buffalo. So where do we go from here, guys? Where do we go from here? What happens? This is what I'm going to offer. David T. Fishes in the chat. I'll get to your comments here in just a bit. Both the Ravens and Philadelphia Eagles have a bunch of draft picks this year, probably from past compensatory picks and stuff like that. I think the Ravens have either 11 or 12. Now, again, they can save about $10 million on their cap situation if they move off from Mark Andrews right now. And Isaiah Likely, I think, is ready to be that number one tight end for them, you know, after being the number two guy for a couple years. So Baltimore, they could get off some money, get a little bit younger, and yeah, have some picks for the future. I don't know if they'll be exactly be getting a bunch of compensatory picks in the next few years. We'll have to see. That could be an interesting idea because Mark Andrews, I believe he's the same age as Juwan Johnson, but he's like a tier above. You know, he is elite. I know he had his dropsies in the playoffs, but trust me, man, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that. If we want to crucify Mark Andrews for dropping a couple passes in the divisional round, hey, we got to the divisional round. Let's get there first, right? But Mark Andrews, that could be a really great signing for us, and it would allow us to punt on wide receiver early on on tight end early on in the draft if we wanted to do that. Another guy that could be available for cheap draft compensation is Dallas Goedert. It has been reported, I believe, by Josina Anderson that Goedert is being made available for trade, maybe even for 26 or 27 day 3 draft picks or draft pick. That's all, because Philadelphia has a ton of picks, if I remember correctly. So they don't need any more right now for this year, but you want to load up into the future. Philly, you know, Dallas Goedert kind of has been banged up, stuff like that. But again, I think he's right around the age 30. I can pull it up here shortly. But I would kind of see one of these moves as like a John Franklin Myers type of trade. So remember, we got John Franklin Myers last year around the time, or maybe it was actually the 2024 draft, but we gave up a 2026 6th-round pick. So it was a 6th-round pick from like a couple years out. I'm curious to see if we can snag a tight end right now for like a future day 3 pick 2 years down the line. That's what I'm wondering. Dallas Goedert, he's going into the final year of his contract, which is also why I wonder, or why I imagine Philadelphia is trying to trade him. Because again, you can only extend so many guys. You can only bring back so many guys. And yeah, Dallas Goedert, they might want to put that money elsewhere and keep it on defense. Honestly, that would probably be the best way to spend whatever cap space they have left. But yes, if he is traded to the Broncos, he's only on the cap this year for $6 million. Like, that's it. Cheaper than Evan Engram. Now, let's say, for instance, he is costing a 6th-round pick in 2 years. Is that worth a Dallas Goedert right now? Maybe you can get for a year and maybe extend for a year or two if you want to. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't really thought about that until, the last day or so. But I think I might do that rather than paying a guy like Evan Engram, who, don't get me wrong, I'll be thrilled if Evan Ingram's here. But he is a little bit older, and he's probably going to be more than $6 million on the cap this year. So that's just something to think about. I would love for us to entertain either of those options, because I think those guys are definitely a tier above Juwan Johnson, even though, like, Juwan Johnson, I still wanted him here, but it's going to be interesting to see if the Broncos were actually in or out on him. But I'm going to be a little bit surprised and think that right now it's probably no, because we haven't heard Mike Gliss or any of these other insiders, Troy Rank, come out and say that they were in on Juwan Johnson. So, yeah, y'all let me know your thoughts. I had something else I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, Tyler Conklin's still out there. He's probably the last tight end that I'd be like cool with signing out of free agency if it's not Evan Engram. So there's that. But yeah, let's work the trade market and see what happens. All right, let's get into some of these comments here, and then I gotta leave for my comedy class. David saying, with what 6 or 7 picks we can afford to trade for a tight end, and I would say I would not want to give up, honestly, a pick this year. I like, ideally. And what's nice is that if we were to work out a trade with them, I don't think they want to pick this year either. So maybe that provides a nice little common ground. But yeah, we only got 7 picks, and it would be kind of tough to cough up one before the draft, right? Now, regarding the Saints, man, I just don't understand it. They restructure a quarterback that they don't want in Derek Carr. It's just a mess, man. But hey, Juwan Johnson, if you want to continue to go 7-9 or 7-10, have at it, man. Have at it. But yeah, the cap space has more loopholes than taxes, man. That's totally true. I seriously don't think the Ravens will give up Andrews. It's been speculated, but to your point, David, like, I don't think we've seen any like real big NFL insiders or anything like that even tease the idea. So there's probably like, if you're putting money on something, it's probably that. Like, the Ravens want to hold on to him. They're in a Super Bowl winning window right now. But Paul's saying, man, give me some tight end. I'm bricked up. Yeah, can we, like, literally, we could sign pretty much anybody. It's an upgrade over Adam Troutman. But guys, we are an Evan Engram signing away from, us content creators having to hype up Will Jordan Humphrey as a converted tight end for the next month until the draft. Like, man, there's going to be some serious work we're going to have to put in if we're going down this scenario, guys. Like, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. David says Ingram's not signing because of his physical. If that's the case, man, what a bummer, man. What a bummer. I mean, Jacksonville released him because of that. No news today on him visiting the Chargers, so you wonder what's going on. Again, I would love to bring in Evan Engram. I still think that if Evan Ingram's out there catching with one hand, with one arm, man, it's still better than the tight ends that we rolled out this past year. But you want guys that can rebound and be healthy. So the Broncos have been incredibly successful over the last couple of years with all of that. You guys know that. So if they decide not to because of the physical, I think that that's something that, you got to respect. Also, DeAndre Hopkins signed with the Ravens, I just saw, thanks to Andy or Kodiak in my Discord, putting that in there. I think I just saw that. But let's play through some of these like scenarios really quick and let's see what happens. But yeah, we gotta have a trade partner. That's the toughest thing. We can talk about all these trades, but are these teams willing to trade their guys? Luckily, we at least know that the Philadelphia Eagles are. So let's start with them. Okay. Do 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 do. Man, I do have to sign in because I forgot this. Oh man, what is my password? Oh my gosh. Oh, I thought I had it. Oh man, don't send me spam on here, guys. Do not do it. Okay, we got it. We're good. Have my whole government name on there. All right. Philadelphia. Okay, $18 million in cap space, but they signed Zach Bond to a huge deal, so we'll see what his cap hit is. But let's find Dallas Goedert right here. So we see him, Dallas Goedert right here. Cap hit is $12 million. This is the last year of his deal. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we trade him. Gonna make a trade. And we can also take a look at their draft picks as well, guys. So let's see how many draft picks they have this year, first and foremost. Just make sure I'm correct on what I was saying about them. Okay. Yeah, they don't have as many as I thought. Sorry, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they got 7. Dang. 3/5 though. That's really, really nice. But the Ravens got a ton more. So maybe they do want a 6th-round pick. Maybe they do. Maybe we can convince them, but they already said they were looking at 26 and 27 draft picks. So we can trade them a future pick. But for this instance, let's just see, quick trade. Oh man, they only save $1 million. They only save $1 million trading him. That's a little surprising. Okay. But maybe they just want to recoup some value before he hits free agency next year. That is kind of interesting how he's been reportedly on the block by Josina Anderson. All right, let's take a look at the Ravens. Almost there, guys. Thank you. Okay, so if we trade for Mark Andrews, you see he's on the cap for almost $17 million right now. This is the last year of his deal as well. So he's going to hit free agency, 29 years old, so a year older, I think, than Juwan Johnson. But if you quick trade him, they save $11 million right now. With how Isaiah Likely's been playing, I don't see why you don't do that and try and shore up the secondary a little bit more or get another rotational D-line guy there, right? That's interesting. Now, when we look at the Broncos, what would it do against our cap if we were to take these guys on? Let's work through that exercise. So let's make a trade here. Oh, and I forgot to look up Baltimore's draft picks. I'll get that for you guys really quick. Oh, 2025, not 2024. They have 11 picks. Yeah, so they got a ton. Okay, so let's make a trade. Let's trade with Baltimore. If we trade for Mark Andrews, They save $11 million if they trade him, and he also goes on our cap for $11 million. So, hey, that's kind of nice. Then you could sign him to a nice little extension if you wanted to, and get that cap number down. But pretty interesting. I mean, if you're just looking at average annual value, Mark Andrews and Juwan Johnson essentially the same. Give me Mark Andrews, man, every single time, man, right now. Absolutely. Okay. And let's acquire Dallas Goedert, just to make sure I'm not lying to you guys again. We're going to go through that. Dallas Goedert, yeah, if we trade for him, he's $6.7 million against the cap this year. And we could sign him to an extension if we wanted to. But yeah, both would be tremendous upgrades. They would definitely be, day one starting tight ends for us to where we wouldn't have to draft a tight end before we, ideally would want to. I still think if we bring in these guys, we still draft one, but it might not be till round, 3 through 6. If we get a 7th round pick, maybe 3 through 7. But when we look at the other free agents, let's take a look at that right now. At the tight end position, let's take a look here. So Evan Engram's still available. Tyler Conklin. Gerald Everett. Yeah. Gerald Everett could be kind of interesting. I'd kind of feel about the same about Gerald Everett as I would if we signed Tyler Conklin. Maybe just a little bit less, I just like Tyler Conklin. I like his game. Sure. Jordan Akins isn't really a guy that I'd like to go after. Mercedes Lewis, he's going to be 41, but he'd be good for the memes. Harrison Bryant, I mean, he could be a stopgap, like a bridge starting tight end for us until our draft pick is ready. Ross Dwelly, no. Irv Smith, do we want to kick the tires on Irv Smith for like a vet minimum? We could do that. At running back, wait, the Buffalo Bills signed Darrington Evans? Why? Okay. Anyways, guys, Miles Sanders is available. I think he could be definitely very serviceable. Ideally, I think he'd be like a great number 2 back, but he could be that veteran back that we have until our young guys that we draft are ready. Gus Edwards, I don't really want any part of him. Same with Raheem Mostert, Jamal Williams. I think those guys are all washed. Jeff Wilson could be kind of interesting, I guess. But yeah, AJ Dillon. Guys, honestly, I'm not a Nick Chubb fan, but at this point, man, I would welcome a Nick Chubb signing, man. Even if we only get him for like half the season, just help ramp up our guys. And he'll be a great locker room guy. I haven't wanted Nick Chubb, but at this stage, man, why not? J.K. Dobbins is a guy you could probably sign for really close to the vet minimum with all of his injuries. So why not? Why not? But yeah, all these guys should come pretty cheap aside from Miles Sanders. I think he should make a contract probably above what Javonte Williams got, which is like 1 year, 3 to 3.5 million. Oh yeah, and Rico Dowdle. Yeah, he's still the top guy on the free agent market for me. Yeah, Rico Dowdle. It would be interesting to see what he gets. Kind of off on Cam Akers. I know we love guys right now with Achilles tears, but he's had 2, and he was just kind of meh there in Minnesota this past year. A guy that could be like a super deep guy would be, I can't pronounce his name, Kine Ngwangwu. Sorry, I need to shut up. But he was pretty good with the Vikings, I remember, before he went to the Jets. I was thinking, I think he got behind on guys like Isaiah Davis, from South Dakota State, Brees Hall, obviously, and the other big back. What was his name? Braden Allen, something like that. And then like Khalil Herbert. Yeah, I mean, not sexy names, man. Not interesting names at all. But there are a couple guys I would be cool with for like above Javante's number that he got. So we'll have to see. Do you guys want Nick Chubb here? You guys want him here? Would you rather have J.K. Dobbins or Nick Chubb? Y'all let me know. Would you rather have Tyler Conklin or Gerald Everett? Y'all let me know. Or Harrison Bryant. I love this. All right, I'm going to get to the chat. Sorry, Rain. I do read the chat, but sometimes I go on these little spiels. Sorry, man. But I'll get to some of these comments. Yeah, trade our 4th for Andrews. Sure. But then I would really like to work a trade back at some point in the draft, if possible. It would be really nice to make somewhere between 6 to 8 picks in this year's draft. I think that would be really, really great. If Denver drafted 2 running backs and 2 tight ends, would you be upset? No. Really, the only way that I would be upset is if we drafted like multiple corners. Really, if we hit, even 2 wide receivers, man, like I won't be too mad. But actually, that would kind of piss me off a little bit. But once you get to day 3, guys, like it doesn't really matter where they use those picks on. The 3 6-round picks that we have. You just want to take the best player available, regardless of position. There, right. So it would take a lot to upset me with this year's draft. We're going to get good players. We can draft pretty much across the board. And I wouldn't be mad if we drafted a corner. But yeah, if we're drafting a bunch of corners, like why are we doing that? It's like our position of strength right now. Will Jordan Humphrey could be a tight end, some bananas and PB and J. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. We're one signing away from, we're going to have to start shilling like we did Lucas Kroll last year, which, that was so much fun getting hyped about Lucas Kroll, it was the offseason. Little Jordan Humphrey might just have to be that guy. But this time we know better than to believe it's going to translate into the regular season. If we didn't lose our punter, this offseason has gone well. Paul Schaefer. Oh, yeah. Riley Dixon's off to Tampa. And, he was a fine punter. I think he was slightly above average, I think is what all the advanced metrics will say. I think we can find another one. Sending you 47 pizzas as we speak. I'm a guy who likes Hawaiian pizza, guys. That might explain some things with how I handle myself. Y'all let me know. Are we on this? Are you on the Hawaiian pizza train with me? Can you believe Najee Harris's contract? It honestly was around what I was expecting, at least for the term. I was expecting him to get a longer deal, but hey, if he balls out this year with that great offensive line there in LA, he could be due for a nice payday. And again, I think a lot of people discount Najee's athleticism, man. Is it because people like expected him to be Derrick Henry or Ezekiel Elliott or something like that? I still think he's a very good running back. But again, you had Rico Dowdle with a higher yards per carry this year. Family TV, did we get a compensatory pick for Zach Wilson? If we did, I don't think we get it till next year, but I think because he only signed for like $6 million, something like that, which it can be up to 10. I don't know if that like qualifies. I forget how the compensatory picks work, but I know it's like usually if they sign guys, your guys are signed to big deals. And it also has to do with like how much we spend in free agency as well. So yeah, I'm not an expert on it, guys. Honestly, I'm pretty much just as confused as y'all are. So, but if VJ, you're right about this, Rain. If VJ was hired as a head coach, we would have gotten 2 at the end of the 3rd round. I can't remember if they're in the same year or consecutive years, but we all got to be praying right now, guys, for VJ to get a head coaching job after this year, because Jim Leonard's that next guy in line. I'll get to a few more, then I got to get out of here. Got to learn how to go tell a joke at this stand-up comedy class. All Hog 11, make a Kyle Pitts trade. Hey, I'm down with it. Just, hey, don't be trading a third. Any of these trades, day 3 picks. Day 3 picks. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins could be cool. You guys want Dobbins? You know, I like Dobbins. And Rain, you're right about this. Day 3, guys. Bashul Tutin or Brashard Smith are some of my favorite in the draft. Would rather have them than those washed backs on the market. My whole thing is like, which I understand from like a talent perspective, I would probably agree with you. Like those guys at this stage in their career have definitely like way more upside than, you know, signing a guy like J.K. Dobbins or, you know, maybe Miles Sanders too, right? But it's always nice to have a veteran in the room. You don't want to lean on guys maybe too early before they're ready. And again, when you sign these cheap veterans, which is like what most of these running backs are going to sign for now, if your rookie picks, they're ready, they're you know, they're up to speed early on, then, you know, you can release them. I was just going back to a commenter looking up like some of the notable releases of players who were released from teams and then went on to have a good second act with another team or whatnot. And I forgot about this. You know, like Willis McGahee was released by the Ravens in the summer of 2011, like right before the season started, and he ended up being really great for us. That's like on the flip side of things. So say we sign a J.K. Dobbins or whatever, we release him because, hey, Audric Estime's taken a step. We got Omar Marion Hampton and Brashard Smith, and those guys are looking incredible, or like LaQuint Allen from Syracuse, something like that. Then we can just cut him. You know, just kind of like what we ended up doing with Josh Reynolds after our receivers started to show some development. But yeah, you never want to be in a situation to where you're forcing a rookie out there before they're ready, just in case things aren't going as planned. You always want to be ready for every scenario. But yeah, D-Rock, you called it. Let's trade for Andrews. Let's trade for Dallas Goedert. Let's just make it happen. Mark saying, I can assure everyone we'll have a new tight end before the draft comes around. Patience needed. His name is Little Jordan Humphrey. My bad. Lil Jordan Humphrey. Shy, what do you think about the signings we did yesterday? They were fantastic. And man, that DJ Jones contract already looks like a steal with what some of those other defensive linemen got. I mean, just insane. I loved what we did. I knew I was going to lose some of y'all. Yeah. Y'all know. I'm glad we got some people on Team Hawaiian, though. Let's go. I would be upset if we drafted a quarterback in the first. Yeah. Even if we were to draft a quarterback on day 3, like, man, I don't hate it. Now, I'd prefer not to do it this year. I think you draft that quarterback next year. That way there's some good space between Bo Nix's contract and then when you would need to re-up a backup, for instance. Yeah. Dude, Mike Green would be incredible. And even if we go edge high, I don't hate it. Let's just get the best players possible. The only other thing that could kind of piss me off is if we go inside linebacker with our first round pick, man. No. Dre Greenlaw is already going to be on the field on third down. I'm cool with Nick Emenwari, though, if he falls to us. Wait, we need to get the offensive line fixed. I mean, don't get me wrong. I ain't going to hate it if we draft an offensive lineman this year. I think we should for development, but I thought our offensive line was good this past year. You know, I saw that there was, this stat about how Luke Wattenberg gave up the least amount of one-on-one pressures this past season, the center position in the entire NFL. So that's awesome. But he does have a lot to progress to make in the run game. But guys, remember, man, we were talking about Lloyd Cushenberry like this until he had his breakout year. And what was that, year 3 or 4? So yeah, Luke Wattenberg's going into year 3. If Zach Strief can't get better, play out of him this year, then yeah, we need to address center next year. No doubt about it. But I would prefer to run this whole line back. Continuity, baby. Like how often are our teams returning their entire starting five to the offensive line? I think that's really great. I'll push back on you a little bit there, but I understand. Like there are a lot of people that aren't satisfied with what we've had at the offensive line position. Man, hey, I try to, Mike. Hey, and congratulations on 400 subs, guys. If you need something to do on Thursday night, mic'd up live. I believe it's Brandon Perna versus DMAC, right? Just incredible. That's probably going to be your most watched episode yet. I'll be tuning in for it. We'll see. Can Branda Perna, beat DMAC? Can DMAC surprise me and beat Brandon Perna? I don't know. We'll see. Who knows more Broncos trivia? It's got to be Perna, right? But DMAC, man, he's covered the team for a long time. That's going to be a lot of fun. So can't wait to see that. What about Omar Norman Lott or Deanna Walker in the third? JJ Pegas or Zeke Biggers? Not too bad though. Man, I like all those guys. Again, I'm not picky, man. I just want some depth, youth, some upside there on the back end of our defensive line. I think Jordan Jackson, Awazarike, like those guys need to be fighting for their roster spot. And I still think that we can upgrade over them, to be honest. So I think all those guys very well could. I do really like Deion Walker, man. I know that he's a tall guy, and maybe he's more of like a 3-tech than being like a traditional nose tackle right there playing over the center. But yeah, if they can get his pad level more consistent, I think he could be really, really good. He's a little bit more raw than some of the other guys. Unlike, for instance, an Omar Norman Lott. I think he'd be tremendous. So I do hope we go D-line just because I feel like this class is really, really deep. At least one pick. Oh, dang. It's Perna and Mario. Man, I now it's gonna make it look like I'm crapping on Mario again. Oh man. Well, Perna and Mario would be great too. I've had more interaction with Mario than DMAC, even though DMAC's come on my Buff show a couple times. But why did I think it was DMAC? My dumbass. Sorry, man. Perna versus DC. I got everybody hyped up, and look at what my ADHD did. But yeah, that's even better. That's even better. What time? Let us know, Mike. Does anyone have any potential undrafted free agents we should get after the draft? Well, look at our top 30 visit that we had. Was that today or yesterday? Cam Miller, a really good quarterback out of North Dakota State, national champion, North Dakota State. Only loss this year was to CU, and they played us real close. But Cam Miller, I think, possibly could be one of those Taysom Hill type of guys that could develop into one of those jack-of-all-trade type of players that Sean Payton loves. But he would be one. I think that there's going to be a ton of running backs you can bring in as UDFAs as well. So, like, you guys remember the guy that was on Washington last year, the running back? Why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden? But I think he'll be like an undrafted guy. We'll have to see. Yeah, a lot of people like Dante Thornton. He could be a tremendous pick there in day 3. A guy that I like from CU, of course, is Will Shepherd. I really like those bigger wide receivers. If Tez Johnson is there in the 6th, you gotta think about that. What do we need to do at center? Draft another interior guy that can play guard and center. The versatility is always nice. And, like Jake Majors or, something like that. But run it back with Wattenberg. Let's see if he develops this year. Let's see what Forsyth does. But if you're not satisfied with it after this year, definitely look to shake up the room. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. Really appreciate all 169 of y'all in here. Oh, see... Why did I get this all confused? DMAC and Ben Albright? Is it Ben Albright? Honestly, that would be really entertaining between those two. And then you got Mario and Brandon Perna. I mean, that might be like the final four, honestly, for mic'd up. I mean, I know I won my matchup against Strez by like a point, even though I think I got one of the trivia questions wrong. But we'll talk about that later. Tune into Mic'd Up Live. Subscribe. Let's get them to 500, guys. Let's do it. Hopefully the Broncos make a signing. I can come on here after my class. But until then, guys, hit that bell for notifications. Appreciate every single one of y'all. Go Broncos.